Welcome to the Sangani Show, where we will talk about everything health, wealth, and wisdom. I came to the US in 1983 from Mumbai, India with $10.45 in my pocket and with a big dream in my heart. Now, I'm a practicing cardiologist, a businessman, an entrepreneur, life mentor, and most importantly, a dad. I have lost some, I won some. But every time I lost or won, I learned even more. And my success has not been easy, but finally I made it. And my next mission is to help you do the same. Learn from my experiences, and that is life is a business. Hello, and welcome to the Sangani Show. My name is Dr. Bharat Sangani, your favorite doctor and the host. And today, we have a very interesting individual and a topic, both to discuss. The topic is going to be, your teeth is my business. And you will always wonder how important teeth can be. Well, we're going to find that out today. And the person who I'm going to introduce is a good friend of mine. I've known him for a significant period of time. He and I work for the same company, and he has really brought a lot of stability to that company. He has so many accolades that even though I've known him for so long, I'll have to actually look at what all things he has accomplished so I don't miss much. His name is Dr. Greg Kerbel, and he's a Chief Clinical Officer at P4D Partnership for Dentists, and we'll talk more about that too a little bit. He opened his private family and cosmetic dentistry practice in Garland, Texas in 1991. He obtained his Bachelor of Science degree from Baylor University in Waco, Texas, 1998, followed by his Doctorate of Dental Surgery degree from Baylor College of Dentistry in 1991. People from Dallas know where Baylor is. Dr. Kerbel also helps prepare the next generation of caregivers by serving on the Garland Independent School District's Health, Career, and Technology Advisory Board, a mouthful of words, which helps students get a solid beginning in the healthcare field. He's a member of the American Dental Association, the Texas Dental Association, the Dallas County Dental Society, and Academy of General Dentistry, and is a past president of Garland Dental Research Club. Greg, welcome to our show.
Thank you, Dr. Sangani, for the warm welcome. It's a privilege being here. Exciting.
It's a pleasure for us. So today's discussion, I was going to divide some for the dentist and some for the patients. So our entire group of listeners and viewers will get something for them to take home. So let's start about himself first. Tell us about how do you get into this industry and why?
Yeah, that's a great question. So like you like people. Doctors just have that thing that says, look, I want to help people. And so at a very early age, actually in third grade, I was like, man, I want to be a dentist. When everybody wanted to be firemen, policemen, I was saying, hey, I wanted to be a dentist. And that passion never went away. In fifth grade, I was on the front page of our city newspaper, all dressed in white in a dental suit for Health Awareness Week. And the passion just grew. Went on, as you said, to get my doctorate degree in dentistry. And it's a love of people. I think that really is what motivated me from the very get-go. To be able to serve and to help people in a significant way, because healthcare is significant, as you well know.
You're 100% correct. Most of the people who are in the healthcare industry, there is little bit of the soul someplace which is a strong desire to help people, and that reflects everything what we do. Let's get one question for our dentist friends who are viewing today. So, what is the biggest misconception on running a successful dental practice today?
You know, that's a great question. So often people say, what is the differentiator between a really successful medical practice, dental practice, and one that is just so-so, if you would, in volume and in care? And I would love to say it's all about clinical expertise. It's all how talented the surgeon is. It's all how talented the doctor is. But I know a lot of talented doctors whose practices are small, who really have never, if you would, arrived to that next level that they could have been. Because the differentiator is really that thing we just talked about. Do you really love people? Do you really care about people? And so when you connect to people on that personal level, on that level that says, look, I want to know your great obsession, what makes you tick, people sense that, and that relational value for people, or what make them refer. People say, look, I want to go to Dr. Sangani because he's the best cardiologist, and by the way, he's a great guy. You'll really like him. I think that's the sole differentiator, more so even in the clinical experience.
You know, you are again so correct. It's the bedside manners that truly determines how an individual or a physician or a dentist is perceived by the patients. And same thing holds true, that the patient-physician, patient-dentist touch is so important to feel that. And mind you, Dr. Kerbel has a very successful practice. Of all the practices we have seen, it has been almost in the 99th percentile, not only financially, but the way they take care of patients. So all the dentists who are viewing this show, if you need to reach out to Dr. Kerbel, I'm pretty sure Micah is going to leave the way to get in touch with him, as well as our show at the bottom of the screen before the show is over. So feel free to reach out to him. He's always affable and available for our needs. Let's get something more about the patients now. So the question that the most patients have is, what should I look for when I'm looking for a dentist?
Well, that's a great question. So, you know, you want to have somebody that cares for your entire family. So a lot of people will find a dentist, but they'll find out that the dentist really doesn't treat kids and they don't like kids. And so do you want a family practice, or are you looking for a specialty? Sometimes you have to be sent to an endodontist, or a root canal therapist, in other words, or a periodontist, something that's specific, or an orthodontist that does something specific. Or are you looking for a general family practice that the entire family can go to? And so when you're looking for a doctor, you really have to know what your needs are, because each of us are trained differently. Each of us are specific to the area that we're best at.
It is, again, as most of you know, I'm a cardiologist. And maybe 10, 20 years ago, it was very simple. You had a heart problem, you just go to a cardiologist. Doesn't matter what kind of heart problem you had. But with time, subspecialties have developed, and certain things I do well that others don't. And everything has become so super specialized that you really need to look for what you are exactly in need for. And very similar in dentistry nowadays. 10, 20 years ago, any tooth problem, you just go to a dentist.
Right.
But things have changed. So he has really pointed out very important characteristics of how you determine who you go to. So viewers, please be careful who you go to. First, determine your needs, and then depending upon your needs, whether it is tooth, whether it is gum, whether it is something else, you need to find the right dentist. Now, let's talk about a few more questions for the patients. So tell me, what is the biggest misconception on teeth and your health?
Oh, that's a great question. A lot of people just think that teeth are simply for smiling and eating. And while that is true, that's what we see them mainly for, the mouth is the gateway to the body. So everything that involves the body starts in the mouth. And so the mouth affects virtually every part of the body. I can't tell you how many patients through the years, just if you deal with chewing alone in that function, who have become without teeth. Edentulous, they have no teeth at all, so they're confined to dentures or no teeth, and all of a sudden their health suffers greatly because they can't chew, they can't masticate, they can't, if you take their food and combine it with the gastric juices so it breaks down properly and provides nutrition for their entire body. So that's just at the simplest level that we could say, look, mastication, chewing, and it breaks the food down, but it's much bigger than that. We now know from research, so much bigger than that.
So here it is for you guys and gals. The teeth are a very important organ in the system, and just not for smiling. And you probably knew that, didn't you? In any case, next question is for the dentists who are viewing our show. So I talked about you are working with a company called P4D. And for the dentists who are watching this and the patients who are watching this, so for the dentist, why would they consider joining P4D, and what is P4D?
Oh, that's a great question. So a few years ago, about 8 years ago, a person decided that they wanted to expand their enterprise and take on dental as an area that they wanted to have a focus in. And that person was a great leader, had amazing understanding of healthcare. That person happens to be sitting beside me, Dr. Sangani, and he created what is now P4D. He brought in some of the brightest minds in the business world and in the medical world. We're led by an amazing leader in Keith Miller, who is our COO and president, and structurally created a company that would support doctors in all of the areas that they knew the least about, so that they would be able to do what they are best at, which is the clinical aspect of dentistry. We partner with doctors in such a way that we take the heavy lifting of the business world off their shoulders so they can focus on the patient care. That's what the model of partnerships for dentists is.
I'm pretty sure that dentists who are watching this will get a better clue what exactly you just mentioned here. It's a very different experience when you work with the company P4D. And the only way you will find more about it is to get in touch with Dr. Kerbel, and he will guide you through it. Now going back to the viewers who are patients who may be looking for a dentist, you mentioned something about periodontal disease. Now for most people, it's a English word, but it's kind of a Greek word. Yes. So can you explain that to us? What is a periodontal disease, please?
Absolutely. So periodontal disease is a breakdown in your mouth of the tissues that support holding your teeth in place. You have gum tissue, we all see that, that's the pink part. And then we have bone structure that actually holds the tooth in as well. When the two of those combine together correctly without infection, without periodontal disease, the teeth are held in their place securely and infection is not allowed to proceed. When that begins to open and the breakdown occurs between the tissue and the tooth, we begin getting bleeding, infection, pus, and that is called periodontal disease. It affects so much more than just the teeth. Ultimately, you'll have tooth loss from periodontal disease, but that's where it also involves the entire system, the entire body, we now know today from research.
Interesting. So not only we need to pay attention to what is white looking stuff from our mouth, but the thing that is underneath it too. And most of us don't pay that much attention to it. So this is a good wisdom that we can take it home and start thinking about it going forward. There are lots of different kinds of therapies available now. And one of them I keep hearing about is the clear align therapy.
Absolutely.
So please enlighten me as well as our audience. What is it?
Yeah, that's great. So back when both you and I were kids growing up and we wanted to get our teeth straight, and there was really only one pathway. We had to put big brackets on our teeth, big bands around our teeth. We put wires and attached them to it. And that was normal, conventional orthodontics. And there's still a place for that. There's still a reason for that. That's why we have specialists that do that. But today, technology has advanced so much that we're able to do through what we call clear aligners. The most notable one is Invisalign. And so Invisalign is known by its brand, but all of them are clear aligner therapies that you snap in a tray that's clear. Nobody really sees that you're doing it, and it begins to incrementally move the teeth to the correct position. Not just for the ability to smile and have a beautiful smile, but for function. Because as we function correctly, mastication occurs correctly, the joint's in the right place, and we get rid of headaches, TMJ issue, airway obstructions. As you know, sleep obstruction is a huge issue. Sleep apnea is a real issue. Opening the airway through clear aligner therapy is something that we can do, which allows people to breathe better. Once again, an overall effect from the entrance to the body.
It's unbelievable that a lot of times we just think is a cosmetic therapy or treatment. It truly is a lot more than cosmetic therapy. My wife Smita had this TMJ issue and she couldn't even eat properly, And Dr. Greg recommended to get her the therapy, and I think now she can eat a stone and then not have any issues with it. So it really does help, and I'm not kidding. I'm really serious how effective that therapy has been for her.
Are we advocating eating stones?
No.
Okay, making sure.
Well, let me tell you, being a cardiologist, I'll advise anything that doesn't have any calories.
That's right.
So if we could eat stones and not have any other problems, I think that'll be a great diet.
So suck on the stone, don't swallow it, just suck on the stone, don't chew it.
That's it. Don't eat it yet.
And we both win.
Absolutely. Similar thing like clear align. A lot of times we talk about veneers.
Yes.
So tell us your thoughts about veneers.
Yeah, veneers were one of the things that came out in the late 70s, early 80s, and they were a huge craze. People wanted to get their teeth, if you would, straighter. And so they had an option of wired braces or putting a veneer on the front of their tooth to make changes cosmetically to the position of the tooth. Today, we do veneers still, but we don't really use them for that purpose. We use them to correct discolored teeth, misshapen teeth. Teeth that are less than ideal in color and shape can easily be changed with a veneer. A veneer goes on the front of the tooth, and it's much like a lady who puts a fingernail on that covers up what she really has for fingernail, and it now has a beautiful long fingernail. I don't know much about fingernails, but I understand that when they cover that up, what it does is it makes it look better. Think of that as a porcelain covering to the front of your tooth that's permanent. It doesn't come off, if you would, and it really makes the teeth whiter and straighter and more beautiful.
So you mentioned a couple of indications for veneers, but how common is it, and does it apply to the entire population? Who does it really apply to? Who should be looking at themselves in the mirror and say, I'm going to go get an advice on getting some veneers?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for somebody who has teeth that they say, look, this tooth is too small, this one is a bit too big, they just aren't proportional for my, if you would, my facial structure, a cosmetic dentist can look at them and ideally, if they're conservative, recommend what is the best, most conservative treatment for you. Because you have to understand, veneers are not reversible. When you make that decision, you've made that decision for life. When we straighten teeth and whiten teeth, both of those are reversible. It's still your natural tooth structure that everybody will see. But when we go in and we put a veneer on the front, that veneer is now permanent for that patient. So for the rest of their life, they will have a veneer that will be in place. Maybe they'll last 8, 10, 12 years, maybe 20 years, but there's going to be a place where they finally will fail and they will need to be replaced. So it's not a once and done, it is a maintenance process over time.
That's very interesting. I did not know the lifespan for veneers before. So ladies and gentlemen, please be careful before you make the decision on veneers. Great thing. When it works great, but be careful.
Absolutely.
That it's an irreversible process. Having said that, let's go to the next important part of dentistry, and that is not as much for the young people, as much for the generation that is getting older. What about implants, and what is it, and who needs it and who gets it?
Oh, that's a great question. Originally implants were for simply one purpose. A person lost a tooth, and then they were going to replace a tooth. So back when that time happened that somebody would lose a tooth, we really had only one option. And the option was to go in and do something called a bridge. A bridge was simply what you think of in a bridge. It spans a space, just like a natural bridge spans two land masses. A bridge in the mouth goes from one tooth, skips the missing tooth, and bonds to the next tooth. The problem with a bridge is you probably have two healthy teeth on either side of the missing tooth, and now you have to prep them down. You have to reduce them down, place an irreversible crown on them. So it becomes, unfortunately, a bigger decision when you put a bridge in. So implants came into the picture and said, hey, you have a missing tooth. We want to give you a single tooth solution for a single tooth problem that is permanent in fashion, in that you don't have to remove it at nighttime like a denture or partials, and it acts and functions just like your normal tooth. In fact, people after they get implant placed, they'll often forget they even have an implant in their mouth because they floss normally around it, they brush normally around it. It looks beautiful, but it's not just for the old. That's an interesting fact. So now it's moving to teenagers who congenitally have missing anterior teeth, front teeth. When they're 17, 18, 19, that age where they're quitting the growth pattern, we're able to put now implants into their missing anterior spaces to restore that beautiful smile that they have and to give them back the confidence that they once had and always wanted to have the most beautiful smile like all of their peers.
So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. The field of dentistry continues to advance, and cosmetically are making great strides, and treatment-wise is also making great strides, and we are just happy to be alive in this era. The last question that I really would like to touch base on, and you are a very big proponent of this particular way of describing, and that is concierge touch. Yes. So explain to our audience, what do you mean by concierge touch and how it is important for the dentist as well as for the patients?
You know, you asked the first question, what differentiates a really successful practice and one that is not as successful? And I would say it's the concierge touch. You know, we all want to be like the old sitcom Cheers, right? Everybody's seen Cheers, where everybody what? Knows your name. And so when you walk into an office and the first thing that happens after that initial phone call, you walk in and they already know your name when you enter the door. Hello, Dr. Sangani. It's great seeing you today. Dr. Kerbel will be right with you, and he and his team are excited about taking care of you. It just makes you feel good. We like hearing our name. We love hearing that somebody knows us. It's the Cheers experience. Hey, Norm. And everybody goes, hey, Norm. And so for some of you young viewers, you're going to have to look this up because you have no idea what we're talking about. But for your older viewers, you're going to go, I get it, because it was so popular because everybody knew their name. Concierge service starts with that. It says, we know you, we care about you, and we're going to serve you to the way you want to be served.
Again, nothing beats bedside manners. Nothing beats the patient feeling that you truly care about the patient. And I think everything else is secondary. And the care cannot be an act. It has to come from within. And if it comes from within, I'm promising you, whether it's cardiology or whether it is dentistry, it almost always works. So for the dentists who are watching us, I know you are practicing this, but if this enforces your thoughts about showing some care to the patient, this is a good time to revisit that fact. And as far as the Cheers go, I hate to disclose my age too, but I'm very familiar with Cheers. In fact, I'm going to Boston next week, and I think the Cheers, the bar was in Boston.
It was.
So I was probably going to visit now that you brought it up. Regardless of that, have I covered everything? Is there something else you want to leave a message for the patients, for the dentist, before we wrap this session up?
I would simply say this. Every bit of your healthcare matters, whether it's cardiology, whether it's dentistry. There's not a place of your body, a part of your body that you cannot neglect, and that includes your mind. So, you know, everything that we do needs to focus back to who we are, whose we are, and why we do what we do. By doing that and self-caring, you will become better for others while being better for yourself.
Couldn't have said this any better. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for visiting us. Dr. Greg, thank you for visiting us today too. Please follow all social media. They're all down at the bottom of the screen. If you want to know more about our show or about some of the things that we do, please visit our website, www.bharatsangani.com. Sign up for our Life is a Business brochure today. It is a subscription based, so you can just go ahead and sign it up and you will receive it every month. Thank you again, Greg, for joining us, and till we meet again next time. Thank you.